Okay, so we're only like, what, 2 years after when I said I'd next do a proper video? That's not that long, maybe. So, where to start when you're reviewing The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword? Well, probably the best place is where the game starts, with the plot. It's a case of monsters rise up from the deep to attack all the people and life forms that dwell on the land, as they try to take a mythical power beyond equal, controlled and hidden and protected by a goddess. Yeah, this is stereotypical Zelda at its very finest, with the idea being to seal away the villain, I'm assuming. I should point out, for the purposes of this review, I've only played the first 10 hours. Although not for lack of wanting to play more. We'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, the plot is very stereotypical Zelda. There's not really much else you can say beyond it. So let's move on to the more visual orientation of the game, which really starts to come through in the opening cutscene. Graphically, the whole thing is, in a way, a fusion of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. It's more like a visual watercolour, and it really works. It just fits the game perfectly in every way. Everything in it it doesn't look sumptuous per se, but it just feels right. This is how, if you were to do a Zelda, this is how you'd want to do a Zelda. And on the Wii, it works brilliantly. It's just portrayed in a nice thing. The same really for the music. The entire soundtrack fits the game, and it's just epic. And I haven't had a chance to listen to the CD that came with it yet. But from what I've heard in-game, the soundtrack is just stupendously good and full of little nods to other older soundtracks, as well as just taking everything and revamping it. Heck, even the da-da-da-da bit has been updated and modernised just enough to make you feel, wow, this is nice and new and cool, without going, screw it, we don't need to do any of that anymore. Of course, now I suppose we should move on to the main thing you probably want to know with a Zelda game on the Wii after the likes of Twilight Princess, and that is the controls. Well, things were a bit worrying at first when I first started up the menus and noticed that my controller was moving at approximately 1 mile an hour across the screen. It's very slow on the start menu, and I've been told that's because Wii Motion Plus doesn't use the infrared system, so it takes longer time to register your up, down, left, right movements. But I was a bit worried, but then you start the game and oh boy, the controls just fit perfectly, pretty much. It's weird just how fluid it is as you move your sword around. And the game really does exploit this in the gameplay. Like, you will need to be damn good at moving the sword. Like, I don't really want to spoil it, but the first proper boss battle I came into, I was expecting it to just involve gimmicks based upon what I got in the dungeon. And no, it requires you to know how to use a sword, which for someone who'd just been going around flailing the Wii remote madly to get through most bosses, I beat the mid-boss in that dungeon, I don't know, with that technique, but yeah, it's a shock about how smart you have to do swordplay by actually using the Wii remote and not just flowing around. So it's a bit weird at first, disorientating, but once you adapt to it and realise that you have to fight smart rather than fight by flailing, it's pretty good. The one, if I had to point out one small niggle in game, it's that sometimes it does seem to take a while for it to register that you're holding the sword up in the air for the Skyward Blast. It does seem a little slow sometimes on the uptake with that. And you have to be a bit careful sometimes with the nunchuck combinations, but otherwise it just works well as a control scheme. The other weird one I think is when you're diving, sometimes it's hard to adapt. Like the first time when I won't spoil it, but the first time when you start diving properly and you have to control your dive, it's weird because it doesn't really tell you which orientation to hold the remote, so it took me several attempts to like get it right and figure out what the game wanted me to do. And then it gets really nasty later on. It says, yeah, land on this tiny platform to get this crate, which will give you an item. But good luck with that, because you've got like a second to react and turn the remote and navigate yourself. But other than these little niggles, which just take time to adapt to more than any inherent flaw in the game, the controls are damn good. And yeah, it's hard to imagine how you'd play any Zelda without these now. Like pressing A and B or anything like that, like on Wind Waker or the 2D Zeldas or the DS ones or anything, just feels backwards now compared to just swinging a sword around with your hands. Of course, being visually impressive, audioly impressive, and having a good control scheme is nothing if you don't have a good game and a good world to back it up. And I can't really criticise it here much either. I mean, starting off with Skyloft, the hub world in the sky, the island that the goddess sends up, in case you couldn't put two and two together. For a hub world, it's maybe a little on the small side for the main bulk of the island, but otherwise it's pretty fun. I mean, one of the big changes here is you come here and you actually have a place to spend your rupees. In almost every other Zelda, I have managed to hit the rupee cap with ease and just hoard my way through it. But in this one, it's nightmare if you want to hoard rupees, because between repairing the shields, buying potions, which you will need, and all the other stuff like the collectibles that Beedle sells and the new items and refills for all your current items, there's a lot to spend rupees on, and it's really a smart, up-to-date system. Talking about that kind of thing, also the collectible system now. A bit like how in Wind Waker you had stuff like the Joy Pendants and the Skull Masks, except this time now they've done it a lot smarter. They use those instead of for side quests and stuff for upgrades, and yeah, that works it just works for the upgrade system. So you go around hunting bugs, or that's for the potions. I think bugs power up the potions, which is another good sensible idea. Or you go around slaying at say 1,000,000 choo-choos, I think they're called, the blue gelatinous blobs. I think they're choo-choos in Zelda. But yeah, you go slay around loads of them and you get items, and then you upgrade your shields or your bug net, so you can be a bigger bug net. And yeah, and although the wooden shields are a bit crap at the beginning, and it does seem a bit pointless to upgrade them because fire will just burn them, so you're better off just buying the iron shield when that becomes available and running around with that. But yeah, and I talk about this, and you will need these items and stuff, because the difficulty in this Zelda is a big step up. Like, I went into the first dungeon expecting, up until that point, the game had been a relative pushover. I mean, I'd had a little bit of trouble finding some of the, what were they called again? The Kikwis, I think. I'd had a few trouble finding those, but nothing game-breaking hard, just me trying to figure out the route I had to take to get to them. And then you go into the first dungeon, and it kicks your ass. It didn't help, admittedly, that some points in the dungeon I was doing the right thing, but the game was going, no. Like, there's one point where you have to run across a certain platform and then jump onto some vines, and for some reason when I ran it wouldn't let me do it, but if I walked to the edge and then jumped, it were allowed. But yeah, it requires you to actually fight smart, and there are giant spiders, I forget what they're called in the Zelda franchise, I've got the notes here somewhere. It would help if I actually read these before recording the review, but yeah, in the first dungeon there were these enemies called Skalatas, maybe? The spiders are called Skalatas? I've talked for like 20 seconds without getting anywhere, but Skalatas, which took me a long time to adapt to and figure out how to beat properly, because I completely forgot I had the stab move with the sword, which was me being an idiot more than anything. But yeah, and I've already talked a bit about the boss and the mid-boss, but yeah, the dungeon kicked your ass, and the item in it was quite interesting to play with. I mean, I haven't gotten to the second dungeon, I'll admit, yet, so I can't really comment on anything other. Why am I recording a review and only playing 10 hours is beyond me, but oh well. But yeah, the first dungeon was fun and hard and smart, and it's, yeah, hard but fair, a bit like the comparison between, say, Demon's Souls and Dark Souls. One was hard but fair, the other was hard and a dick. But yeah, it was good, and to be honest, that kind of sets the tone for the whole game. There's lots of neat little touches throughout the entire experience. I mean, stuff off the top of my head here, having the return of Beedle was nice. When you're flying around in Skyloft after the opening mission where you have to try and snatch a statue out of a bird's arms, there's like birds with rupees which you have to go around and try and knock them up to get like a red or a silver rupee I've seen flying around. The whole 25th anniversary references are prevalent throughout. The game thanking you for a purchase. I've never had a game thank me for buying it. That was just off guard and a nice little touch. Flying cats, if you throw those little cats in Skyloft off a ledge, they go and fly up, because you can't kill them like that. Lots of other random things, like the animation on, what's his name, the bad guy, I forget his name, with the red afro. No, not afro, sorry, the red spike in his hair. The animation for him is just hilarious. And it's all just so many neat touches that I can't really go in. I don't really want to spoil them, because it's more of a thing you have to explore and discover for yourself. But it's just, yeah, it's, I've lost my words. It's just a nice, fun game to play that constantly makes you feel good for playing it. And I haven't managed to really, there's been bits where I've been peeved at the game, but there's been nothing really where I've gone, I want to stop playing. I In fact, I've more been stopped playing because, well, going off onto a tangent very quickly bit, I'm a uni student and I'm busy with work at the moment, so I pretty much got Zelda, played it for 5 hours, and had to work. And I've managed to play it for another 5 hours over the last couple of days when I haven't been busy working and organising things. But I still want to play more, and I probably will be, like, this weekend, try if I get time. I'm busy. But yeah, I'll be playing more Zelda because it's fun, and for the first time in a long, long time, this is a Zelda game which I want to go back to and want to keep playing. But yeah, I've waffled on long enough, so I suppose I should try and come to a meaningful conclusion with this. So, with Skyward Sword, I've had more fun playing it than the crap Zeldas, so Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess. Ooh, I know, controversial. I don't like those games. Well, they sucked. It's better than the average ones, which came out on DS, the Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. It's better than the good Zeldas, Majora's Mask and Wind Waker, which apparently 8 is a bad score. No, 8 means great. It's a fucking awesome Zelda Wind Waker. But yeah, any faults I have with this one are more just nitpicking of player error than anything. This is the most fun I've had playing a Zelda game since Wind Waker. In fact, I have had more fun playing this than Wind Waker. It's just a good way to celebrate 25 years of a franchise that, whether you love it or whether you hate it, has helped define gaming in a way. So I can't give this game anything less than a 10 out of 10. And I never thought that a Zelda game would be the first game I'd give a perfect score to, in all honesty. But it's just fucking good. So there you have it, TGE Gaming Enthusiast, we are back. Tell me what you thought of this style review. I will admit I waffled on for quite a bit, but that's because if you love a game, you'll happily just talk about it for ages and go into a little trance. But yeah, tell me what you think of the review, give your feedbacks. Hopefully people won't complain saying 10's a bad score for this game because it's like the fucking best thing ever. And yeah, because you know 8's a bad score. But yeah, tell me what you thought, let me know. I'll be doing this not on a weekly basis anymore, but as is when I get time and when I feel I can review a game satisfactorily. I will get Bedazzle one day, I promise, and probably do Let's Plays and other stuff with it. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you around, and there won't be a Game of the Year video this year, for the simple reason I haven't played enough of the games that have come out this year. I mean, because I'm a skint uni student now, lol, so I haven't played Modern Warfare or Battlefield, or I haven't probably played Xenoblade or Assassin's Creed, or any of the good games that have come out this year. I've played like 5 or 6, and if I was to give it to a game, it would either be Skyward Sword, Portal 2, or Solitaire Robo. So there you go. So see you around next time, and yeah, thanks for watching, y'all.